Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Trinadapi Sunichena Taradiva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata. This is a monthly class I do on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigama Kalpataror Galitang Phalam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge which we call the Vedas. The origin of the Vedas is the original words spoken by Lord Narayan to the creator Brahma at the dawn of creation. Lord Narayan gives Brahma 4 essential shlokas, which are called Chatushloki, or the original seed verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. With the knowledge derived from those 4 verses, Lord Brahma then engineers the creation of the cosmic manifestation. Later, he produces from his mouth the 4 Vedas. So the original knowledge of the universe is the 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. The version that we have on this earth planet is 18,000 shlokas, all derived from those original 4 shlokas spoken by Lord Narayan to Brahmaji. We are in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto, 12 cantos, 18,000 shlokas, 335 chapters. We are on the 2nd chapter, which is entitled Divinity and Divine Service. Divinity refers to God, and divine service is known as Bhakti Yoga, linking with the Supreme by means of service, rendering service. Right now, you are performing the first item of bhakti, Shravanam, hearing. Spiritual life begins from hearing. You cannot do anything further unless you have heard from a devotee on the science of God. That is the system. Brahma, although he created so many different offspring, his favorite was his 10th son, Narada. And it was to Narada that Brahmaji instructed Srimad Bhagavatam. Narada later instructed his disciple Sri Vyasadeva. Soon, we will be worshiping Sri Vyasadeva on the full moon, known as Guru Purnima, because Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedic knowledge in written form. Originally, as I said, Narayan spoke to Brahma. He did not write it down. The system was given orally from guru to disciple. But we will learn later in chapter 5 of this first canto how Vyasadeva was instructed by his guru Narada Muni to write down and compile the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva is known as Bhagavan Rishi, God in the form of a saintly person. And after editing the Vedas and compiling 108 Upanishads and the Puranas and the Itihasas and the Mahabharata, his final literary masterpiece was the Srimad Bhagavatam, under the direct instruction of his spiritual master Narada Muni. The first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, a scene was described. The scene is after the battle of Kurukshetra, after the disappearance of Krishna, after he returned to his spiritual abode. It is the beginning of the age of Kali. The age of Kali began with the disappearance of Krishna. And so the sages of the holy forest Naimisharanya, which is considered the hub of the universe, the sages are performing a sacrifice for 1,000 years for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga. The sages of Naimisharanya have selected as their leader, they have selected Shaunaka Rishi. He is their leader, and they have requested Sutta Goswami. They have situated him on the Vyasasana, the elevated seat, and they are requesting him to answer 6 transcendental questions. The sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka, described Kali Yuga, Manda sumanda mantayo manda bhagyahi upadrata, that the age of Kali, the people are slow when it comes to spiritual life. They are disturbed in mind. They are unfortunate or unlucky. And they are always misled with poor information, or you can say disinformation. So the sages of Naimisharanya are doing this 1,000-year sacrifice for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga. That's us. We are the residents of the age of Kali, which has only passed 5,000 years and will last 427,000 more. And the age of Kali is known as the age of iron, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the age of cheating, the age of gross materialism. And the symptoms of the age of Kali increase day by day. It gets worse and worse because the principles of religion in the age of Kali are reduced, gradually day after day. Religion becomes squashed and irreligion becomes more and more prominent. That's what happens in the age of Kali. Therefore, at the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, who will appear at the end of the first canto, when Shukadeva Goswami is finishing his instructions to Maharaj Parikshit, quotes a very important shloka. Kaler dosha nide rajan asti hiyeko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha parang vrjet. Shukadev said, my dear king, the age of Kali is an ocean of bad things, dosha, faults. But there is one good qualification in this age of Kali. What is that? Kirtanad eva krishnasya. The kirtan of Krishna. That is significant. Not anyone else's kirtan. Shukadev specifically says Krishnasya, the kirtan of Krishna. Not anyone else. That is a very important point. As I said, in the age of Kali, people are misinformed or disinformed. Kirtan means Krishna Kirtan. In this age of Kali, Mukta Sangha Parang Vrajat. If one performs Krishna Kirtan in the age of Kali, not only does one achieve moksha, liberation, but one enters the abode of Krishna to live there as one of his associates for eternity. That is the goal of the Krishna consciousness movement, to go back home, back to Godhead. And all you have to do is engage in the simple process of Krishna Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the second chapter, Sutta Goswami begins to answer the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. In our previous class last month, we were given a description or a definition of the absolute truth. Absolute truth is one, it's not two. The absolute truth is one substance. Here in this material world, we are accustomed to relative truths, meaning so many things are dependent on something else for its existence, relative. Even ourselves, we are relative truth. The best example to help us understand absolute truth is the example of the sun in the sky. The sun is giving off unlimited sun rays. The sun rays are relative truth, where the sun planet itself is the independent truth. Therefore, the absolute truth is independent. And that was the first thing we learned in the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, several months ago. Abhigya Swarat. The absolute truth is all-knowing and is completely independent. You and I and everything in this material world, we are not completely independent. We are minutely independent. Total, complete independence that is only possible for the absolute truth or God Himself. So in the previous verse last month, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Shabdyate. This non-dual oneness or one item is understood in three different features. The first feature of the absolute truth, Brahman, the all-pervading spiritual energy. The second feature of the absolute truth, Param Atma, God in the heart and within every atom. Param Atma. We learned about Paramatma in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjun Tishtati. I am situated in your heart, and I am directing the wanderings of all living entities. Krishna also talks about the Paramatma when he says, Sarvasya Chaham Hriddi Sanivishta. Sanivishta, I am situated, I am sitting, where? In the heart. And there are other verses in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna explains how He is Paramatma. There is a nice discussion of Paramatma in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where He is described as Anumanta Hi Upadrashta. The Supersoul Paramatma is the overseer and sanctioner. He sees everything and He gives thumbs up, thumbs down on anything. This is also described in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains the 5 causes for the result of any activity. And the final item of the 5, Daiva, also refers to the Paramatma. Some people will say destiny, but destiny is not some blind thing. Destiny is the representative of the decision of God. He is the one that gives one's destiny depending on your choices. That is destiny. Destiny means I made a decision, I made a choice, and depending on that choice, I get a predictable result. That result, good or bad, who decides that? Paramatma, God. Then the final feature, the ultimate phase of the absolute truth, Bhagavan. Bhaga, opulence. Van, possessor of. Just like you are familiar with the word Jnanavan. You see that word in Bhagavad Gita. Possessor of knowledge, Jnanavan. So Bhagavan means somebody is the possessor of opulences, which they are 6. Aishvarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasasriya jnana vairagyos chaiva shanam bhaga itingana. Bhagavan, God, has beauty, wealth, fame, strength, wisdom, and renunciation at the same time, but to an unlimited degree. That's God. That's Bhagavan. If your definition of God does not have that concept, then your definition of God is faulty. Bhagavan. all the opulences simultaneously to an unlimited degree. You wish you had even one of those opulences to an unlimited degree. Even if you had one, everybody would be worshiping you. You wouldn't get any sleep at night. There'd be a line of people 10 times around your house asking for your ashirvad. But we don't, so don't worry. None of us have any one of the opulences unlimitedly. Not even Donald Trump. Although he may think he does.
Unlimited speech.
Yes, no, unlimited ignorance. Very good there. Thank you. That was a good point. You get 2 dings. Very good. Excellent. So, the absolute truth is one thing understood in 3 features, progressive stages of realization. Now, the next verse, which starts today, here is the Sanskrit shloka given to us by Sutta Goswami. Why did the sages of Naimisharanya select Sutta Goswami? The reason was he was present at the original recitation of Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, and in that, before Shukadev left, Shukadev said to everyone there, you see this Sutta Goswami? Later, after Parikshit dies, later, he will speak this Bhagavatam which I just spoke to the sages of Naimisharanya. Because Shukadeva Goswami is Trikalagya. He can see past, present, future. So it's even predicted in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sutta Goswami says, Tatsradadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashanti atmani chatmanam bhaktya sruta grahitaya. I would beg your indulgence to please repeat. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what one has heard from the Vedanta Sutti. So this is a very prominent verse, because in the previous verse, Sutta defined the absolute truth. That's all right. The next question is, how can I get that absolute truth? Just for instance, if somebody said, there's $1 billion available to you, your next question is, where do I sign up? How do I, right? It's not enough to know that there's $1 billion. What do I got to do? Where do I sign? Are there any strings attached? Do I have to sell my soul to the devil? Which many people have done, by the way, over the course of human society. It's a fact. So these lines that I had you repeat, these are important. So the first thing, serious. You have to be a serious student. You can't expect to realize the absolute truth and have it be something, well, yeah, sure, whatever. No. It's like if you act like that in your job or business, you're not going to get very far. Yes. And you know, Kakani, when you used to have your business, right? You had to pay close attention to and make sure nobody's stealing, right? Watch the accounts. Yes, but you were ever vigilant, paying your taxes. It wasn't that you were just sitting back all day, right? You had to put a lot of attention into running your business or your engineers. You know, it requires a lot of attention. So, serious and inquisitive. Inquisitive means you're asking questions of the Guru, you're asking questions of saintly persons, you're asking questions that you're looking for the answers in the Shastras. That's what it means to be inquisitive. Just like I know for a fact, I've talked to doctors and they told me, oh yes, even though I have my doctorate degree, I have to keep up on the latest developments because things are constantly changing. You have to keep up. So you have to seriously inquire from the scriptures. It's a constant study every day. Now the next thing. The next thing is Jnana Vairagya. That is your equipment. That is your equipment. Whatever profession you are in, there is equipment necessary. Whether you be a doctor or an engineer or a musician, there is equipment. So what is your equipment for realizing the absolute truth? Knowledge and detachment. Detachment means not that I'm simply here to enjoy. Detachment means, no, it's not. Just like you told your children, when your children were in school, you told them, okay, 1 hour television after you do your homework, didn't you? You just didn't let your children come home from school, all right, go play video game. No. Did you do your homework? You were on top of your children, were you not? I know Indian families. You stress the education. If you're going to pay for the college, you know, hey. Right? So detachment means that you're not just simply doing things so that you can enjoy. Then the key line. What is the process for realizing the absolute truth? Bhakti once again. Bhakti. Gee, how does that remind me of Bhagavad Gita? Yes, because 3 times Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you want to know me? Bhakti. You want to come to me? You want to see me? 3 times. 11th chapter, 8th chapter, 18th chapter. If you want the exact verses, I'll give them to you. Because it's an important thing. Same way, why that verse that I always chant, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva. Nastyeva means not by karma, not by jnana, and not by yoga, separate from bhakti. Because bhakti is a yoga. But any other yoga, no. You're not going to realize the absolute truth. Maybe partially, because there's partial realization of the absolute truth. I discussed that last month, by the way. How there is partial realization of absolute truth. But here we're talking about realizing the full absolute truth. The answer given by Sutta Goswami is rendering devotional service, which I said at the beginning. You're doing the first one, Shravanam, hearing. I'm doing 2. I'm hearing and I'm chanting. When we do the arti, you'll also be doing hearing, chanting, and worshiping. So arti is a big deal because you're doing 3 items of devotional service. Unless you're like this. Then you're only getting 2. Huh? No. Because even you don't chant, because you're hearing, you get the benefit. The poison still acts. Even like in ISKCON, they go out on the street to do the kirtan, and sometimes the people go like this. Too bad. That sound vibration is penetrating. Gotcha. That's the beauty of kirtan. Now the last item, not only do you have to do devotional service, but how you have been taught by the Vedanta Shruti. In other words, you can't make up your own devotional service. It has to be according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, which, again, something, if you read Prabhupada's books, on every page, he's telling you, you need a spiritual master. If you study Prabhupada's books, in every purport, eventually you're going to read this line, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual. That's like Prabhupada used to say all the time, you can't just read books and become a doctor. No, you have to get the approval, right? And I'm sure in engineering, right? You can't just say, hey, I read all the books. No. In the olden days in Europe, they had this thing, apprenticeship. You would go to a master and you would learn, and you know from your Indian culture, this is not a new concept. For most Westerners, this is a new concept, but Indian people, you know, that is the system, guru. So, this is what Sutta Goswami is saying here. You render devotional service as it is taught by the conclusions of the Shastras. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra for me one time. So now we can proceed to the next delicious verse. I love this chapter. Prabhupada liked this particular chapter, this section, very much. When he wrote his poem, Arriving in America, he quoted a section of this chapter because it is, you could say, the essence of the whole process of spiritual realization. Just like, I'll give you another example. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 2 chapters which are considered summaries. Chapter 2 and then chapter 18. So if you don't want to read the whole 18 chapters, just read chapter 2, just read chapter 18. You'll get a very good idea of what is Bhagavad Gita, because they are summary readings. Atak pumbir dvijasreshta varnashrama vibhagasha svanushtitasya dharmasya Sangsidhir harito shanam. Please repeat, I beg you. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the personality of Godhead. Okay, so for someone like me, this first phrase, O best among the twice born, that's a clue for me. This is how you preach. He's preaching to an assembly of sages. So what does he do? He glorifies them. It's important. You don't say, you're all going to hell. No. So this is important to me. Notice what he says, O best of the, so I'm going to say, O best of the residents of Placentia. That's you. O best of Orange County or wherever you're from. This way, your mind becomes, oh, I like this guy. It's good. That's like one of my favorite stories. After I had been a devotee for a year or two, I met one girl that I had known previously. So she asked me, what is this chanting? What is it? I said, you sit in this chair. So she sat in the chair, I sat at her feet. And so I said, I'm going to explain to you what is chanting. So I said, her name was Nancy. So I sat at her feet. Nancy, Nancy, Nancy. She understood. She understood. But we're not chanting Nancy, Nancy, are we? We're chanting Krishna, Krishna. Because God is a person. And because there's nobody, there's no exceptions. Everybody likes to hear themselves glorified. There is no exceptions. Just like nobody likes anybody to say bad things, right? But if somebody says nice things, and God is the same way. So that is another secret science of chanting. We are capturing his attention. He's saying, oh, look how nice this person is saying my name. Oh, very nice. And therefore Krishna blesses you. It is therefore concluded. We've come to a conclusion so far. The highest perfection, not just perfection, the highest perfection you can get. How? Discharging your duties. We all have duties. Women, wives, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Men, you have your duties. Children also have duties. No one is, everybody has prescribed duties. All right? And he says, according to caste divisions of orders of life, everybody, you fall into some category. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. By your nature, not by your birth, by your inclinations, by your qualifications. That's like, very simple, you are trained to be an engineer. You're not trained to be a doctor, as far as I know. All right? So you have engineering duties. Someone may be a doctor. His duties is different than yours. But he's got duties, you got duties. I also have duties. Everybody has duties. And those duties are there by training and by nature or nurturing. You were born with certain inclinations. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, what is this behavior of yours? You don't want to fight? That's not your nature. Since Arjuna was born, what has been his nature? Fighting. And he wants to run off to the forest and take sannyas? He's not going to act any different. He'll just be the leader of all the sages. No, everybody has a nature. You were born with certain nature. Okay, so you have prescribed duties, but here is the key line. How do you achieve the highest perfection? If your prescribed duty pleases the personality of Godhead. And the line is, Sang Siddhir Hari Toshanam. Can we all say that? Sang Siddhir Hari Toshanam. Thank you. This is exactly the same thing Krishna says in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita. You were there when we covered that verse. To refresh your memories, because I know you all know Bhagavad Gita. I know you do. But just to refresh your memories. So in chapter 18, Krishna says, here are the qualities of how a Brahmana works, how a Kshatriya acts, how a Vaishya acts, how a Shudra acts. He says, these are the qualities how they work, karma, not janma, how they act. But then Krishna says, doesn't matter. All of them can achieve perfection. Not just the Brahmins. Even the Shudras can achieve perfection. And what was the answer that Krishna gave? By your actions in your work, you worship the Lord. That's it. Same thing he said in chapter 9. Manghi partha vyapasritya yepi supapayonaya striyo vaishas tata sudras tepi yanti param gatim. Anyone, women, vaishyas, sudras, sinful papayonaya, they can go back to Godhead. There is no bar. Everyone is entitled. All you have to do is worship the Supreme Lord, or here, please, because worship the Lord means to please. That's what worship means. Do something pleasing. Just like some of you, after the program, some of you will come up, Prabhuji, can I help you with your equipment? That means you're trying to do something pleasing. So when you do something for God, such as build a new temple, some sit here Haritoshanam. Whether you're giving money, or you're giving your brain, or you're giving your service, just like I see it every time I come. After everyone leaves, there's one nice gentleman. What does he do? He vacuums the rug. That's service. And by that service, Sang Sid here, he is pleasing God. Prabhupada told us, the person on the altar and the person sweeping equal. Not that I'm sitting up here and only, no. Then I know there are some ladies at the end of while everyone's taking prasadam, some of the ladies are washing the utensils. That's just as important, no offense, Raghunandan and Gadadhar. Those ladies that wash the utensils, that's equal service to pujaris. There is no discrimination. There's no, we are superior. As soon as I start to think superiority, I'm on the material platform. On the spiritual platform, equality, real equality. In the material world, we try for that, but it just doesn't happen. Because the material world is a world of duality. And they try in so many ways to create a harmony and peace, but in Kali Yuga, it's never going to happen. But if you want real equality, it's on this platform of devotional service. That's where it is, on the platform of devotional service. Because why? Here, somebody may say, okay, that sounds nice. How is it? It's real simple. In God's eyes, we're all His children. He doesn't make a distinction. He even says that in Bhagavad Gita, Samaham Sarva Bhuteshu. I'm equal to everyone. God doesn't discriminate. But He says, but if you go out of your way, Shri Shri Radharaman Bhagavan Ki Jai, if you go out of your way to do something for Him, naturally, He's going to pay you more attention. Why not? So that's our goal. Get God's attention. Prabhupada's guru used to say, don't try to see God. Act in such a way that God notices you. So okay, I want God to notice me. Really simple. Render some service. Doesn't matter how insignificant. Just like every Sunday I come, there is a group of people, devotees. What are they doing? Serving out the person. That's service. When Gadadharji, after the arti, he does the bhajans, is that service? Sang Siddhir Haritoshanam. Yes. And there's no check. My favorite story. In the 70s, in Australia, the devotees were chanting on the street. They got arrested. They were in jail. So the leader, he wrote to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you told us to chant on the street. Now we're in jail. What do we do now? Prabhupada said, what are you crying about? Chant in the jail. So they chanted in the jail and they said, get out of here. You see that? There's no check. There's no check. You know better than me that incident in the Mahabharata. Draupadi is being disrobed by Dushashan, right? And at first she's holding on and crying. Then she realizes what? Hey Govinda! She fully surrenders. Bam! Krishna becomes unlimited sorry. Sari avatar. Heaps and heaps. So even in that situation, there is no check. Ajamil, on his deathbed, wasn't even thinking of God. He was thinking of his little child. But what was that child's name? Narayan. Everybody. Narayan. He got the full benefit. This is what I love about this philosophy. That name is absolute. We began our discussion by talking about absolute. Absolute means whether you know it or not, the effect is there. For instance, Putana. When Putana came to kill Krishna, Krishna was maybe 1 month old. So does that mean Krishna had no potency? No, even as a 1 month old baby, he's still God with all the opulences. Putana thought, I can kill this 1 month old child easily. She had killed so many babies. She had a huge history. She was famous for killing babies. She thought this is just another one. No. So Krishna, God is absolute. Whether he's a 7-year-old boy. You know any 7-year-old boys that can hold up a mountain for 7 days and 7 nights? Nope. But Krishna was able to do that because he's absolute. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. We'll do one more shloka and then we'll have the japa class. Tasmat ekena manasa bhagavan satvatang pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha jaya pujascha nityada. Please repeat. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. So this is very similar. Actually, there is no difference between the conclusions of Bhagavatam and Gita. They completely fulfill. So we get the same with one pointed attention. In chapter 2, Krishna explains how those who are on this path of devotional service, 1 point, no distraction. Like there's that incident shooting, and I think it was Dronacharya was asking, what do you see? And others, they failed. But when he asked Arjuna, what do you see? I only see, was it the eye? Right? He didn't see anything else. So Arjuna was the one who shot, because he had that one pointed attention. So the same thing is there in Bhagavad Gita, and Sutta Goswami is saying the same thing here. 1 point. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, and those who are not on this path, their intelligence is multi-branched. Multi-branched. Like your TV sets. How many channels you have, huh? And when you don't like something, click, okay, click, right? Some people have 1 zillion channels, right? Most of the shows are garbage anyway. And on every channel, who do you see? Donald Trump. So, the devotee, one pointed attention. And here it's constantly, just like my name, Nirantara, constantly, without cessation. So what is Sutta Goswami saying? Constantly hear about God, glorify God, remember God, and worship. Why? He is the protector of devotees. Ram protected, Krishna protected. Here it is. There's your best example of protection. Look at that. Lord Nrsimha is protecting Prahlad Maharaj. And that's why that verse in Bhagavad Gita, Kauntaya prati janahi na me bhakta pranasyati. State Farm is not going to protect you at the time of death. When Yamaraj comes, no, I have State Farm is there. You've seen that silly commercial. He chants the name of the State Farm and the agent comes. That's how silly. That's never happened to you, right? When you got into an accident, that the state guy he just miraculously, oh, I got this covered. But Krishna does. Krishna does. He gives immediate protection. Immediate protection. When Draupadi, Durvasa was supposed to come, and she had taken the meal so her plate would not work. Krishna was with Rukmini, he ran to Draupadi. And she said, but I've already eaten. Krishna said, well, there must be, look at the plate. Look at, what is anything? One little thing. Up. Problem solved. Krishna saved them. Arjuna on the chariot, Bhishma was about to kill Arjuna. Did Krishna protect Arjuna? Yes. And if Krishna had not broken his promise, Arjuna was done. Because on that day, Bhishma promised, I will take care of Arjuna. Krishna had to protect. Krishna had to protect Arjuna, and he had to fulfill Bhishma's vow. Because Bhishma wanted to see Krishna angry like a lion, running. It was like Bhishma's ecstasy. Yes! Yes! Bhishma would have loved to have been killed by Krishna at that time. That would have been his complete life's desire fulfillment. But what happened? Game over. End of the day. Next cricket match tomorrow. Krishna protects his devotees. Everybody chant the Mahamantra.